Hey everyone, how's it going? Let me just cut the music very quickly here. Hi guys, thank you for joining me again for another episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush. It is indeed not week 1, but week 2 of the winter split. And oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Thank you for joining me again. As usual, our program is going to be going over the LEC standings, looking at some surprises that we've had from a few teams in the LEC that we weren't necessarily expecting to perform as well. So we'll be going over that. We'll have, obviously, to talk about Fnatic and their questioning start to the season. Currently 2-4. While I don't think anyone was expecting him at the top of the standings, I don't think that we were expecting such a bad start either. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and obviously predictions going into the final week of, I guess they call the regular season, so week 3. Um, just for your guys' information, the last day of week 2, we got none of our predictions right. 0 points out of 5 games. That is just to give you an idea of the amount of upset and unpredictability that there was this week. Well, last week, I should say, of LEC. Awesome. Speaking of which, let me see. Oh, there we go. I've got so many scenes to go through. LEC week 2. We've got our usual top and flop teams to go through. Starting with what I think was the biggest, one of the biggest surprise was Vitality. Vitality had a big game against G2, who, out of the 3-0 teams from the first week, I think myself and a lot of other people felt that G2 was the strongest 3-0 team going into that big matchup. Vitality also went 3-0, obviously, but had a lot of trouble closing the games. Losing a lot of early games, or managing to win mainly through team fights, and I would say better macro going into the mid to late game. But apart from that, not very convincing. On the contrary, this week, Vitality really took things into their own hands, and they're looking very scary. I would almost say scarier than G2, at least this week, because all of their games felt very dominant overall. While there were some elements of back and forth across their 3 games, it didn't feel at one moment where they were on the back foot compared to week 1, where again it really felt like Fnatic could have taken a game, Team Heretics could have taken a game, but in the end Vitality brought it back. They were strong from the start, and it feels like the team already within week 2 has already fully clicked, and that makes them a massive threat going onwards, because then once you have that synergy that's already built in within the team, you can just improve on other aspects of the game, whether it be champion picks, macro, getting advantages, playing weak side, strong side. All those elements you can work on, and you don't have to spend so much time on synergy, which can take more or less time to work depending on the personalities on the team. So Vitality, I believe, already qualified for the next stage. I know LEC posted a table with all the, how do you call it, the statistics of being qualified for the probability, of being qualified for the next stage, and I believe Vitality was 100%. So I guess they don't really care how they're gonna play the last week. They might play with a bit more freedom going in. We might see some spicy picks into the last week, probably from Boo or Perks. I would think. But yeah, Vitality going forward very strong and looking like the favorites. The two other teams now that definitely surprised, I think, everyone this week were BDS and SK. Beginning with BDS now, I did say last week, if you guys were there, that BDS was a threat against Fnatic, and while I had predicted Fnatic to win, I did say there could be a chance that BDS wins. Um, BDS have been a very structured like block. It feels where again a bit like Vitality. It feels like they're on the same page, and for some reason, people are not banning Darius and or Olaf against Adam, which gives him so much freedom into these pocket picks. And it just so happens that these picks play super well against a very meta champion that is called Cassante. So Adam is kind of in his wheelhouse right now, where not only people are not respecting his pocket picks, but if he gets his hands on them, he's going against probably one of the strongest top laners as Cassante, and he can do whatever he wants. And we've seen both his Olaf games, his Darius games. Uh, he's just untouchable. He completely wreaks havoc onto the map. Doesn't even need to take TP because he does roam a lot into mid lane and then in the mid game, just spends his time roaming on the entire map. So he's been a big issue, and at the same time, Shio, their jungler, has been picking a bit more Wukong, on which he's been performing super well, and he always manages to get those flanks in those team fights that really, you know, help them snowball, get the advantage, and just crush their games afterwards. I do want to check something though. I want to look at their schedule. Who it was? I know they faced Fnatic. They went against Astralis, which Astralis is a bit of a punching bag right now. But yes, against Mad Lions as well, where I was quite surprised because I feel like Mad Lions is also one of the strongest teams right now, and they did get caught by BDS, who again very strong on most of their lanes, and I don't know what to say about them, to be honest. Like, they're on the first half of the standings right now, and as week 3 goes forward, they potentially get 2, maybe another 3-0 if it works really well for them. So BDS definitely going against the expectations of them being a bottom team. It's nice to see, to be honest. It's nice to have a really competitive LEC, a competitive scene, and especially when we have a lot of young slash rookie players coming into that roster. So BDS, very good 3-0 week against, I'd say, roughly strong opponents. So we'll see how they manage to plow through into the week 3. Just gonna have a look because I do believe their schedule is a bit complicated going forward. They are facing G2 tomorrow, then Vitality, and then Heretics. So this is gonna be the real trial by fire for them. They're facing probably the 2 best teams right now in the LEC, so they're definitely gonna be put to the test. If, in my opinion, if they manage to get a win against one of these teams, they're going to be very competitive going forward, and maybe they'll reach the final stage. Who knows? Who knows? But another team who's doing as well as BDS is SK. Now again, SK a little bit like BDS. Believe I personally rated SK a bit higher, around C tier. Um, they have been the perfect score slayers, beating G2, beating Vitality. I don't think anyone expected that at this stage, to be honest. Like, SK, especially going well after their first week where they looked okay-ish, they managed to slam the two biggest teams, and in good fashion as well. It wasn't there wasn't a fluke. Like, they dominated both of these games, and what I will say is that obviously the first game was against G2, right? So that one was a bigger surprise. And then when they beat Vitality, um, I think everyone was like, "Oh, okay, so now we're getting somewhere." Now it's funny because obviously G2 did have that 18-minute game on the first day, so every wait sorry on the second day, so it felt like obviously G2 was a bit provoked here, but SK, no, seriously. I think Broxa tweeted that, and I think it's very relevant to say that the teams who are performing the best aren't necessarily the ones who have the top players, but the ones who are building that synergy and who are able to go in that same direction. And you know, when you look at teams like BDS, teams like SK, they don't have premium players as such, but if they work well with each other, if they know what they want to do and they're willing to follow each other in their plays and they're very aligned on their strategy and their execution, they're going to very easily beat teams who still have that element to work on within their structure. So, BDS and SK being able to go 3-0 isn't necessarily the biggest of upsets if they have one of the most fundamental elements already built in, which is that team synergy. So we'll the next question is to see how far does that take them, right? As other teams will try obviously to catch up and to get to that same level, maybe by patching up other elements within their roster, but within the group stage where you only have 9 games, these 3-0s are massive because they're just giving you a massive step towards qualification into the next stage. So, on the short term, we're definitely seeing that good synergy is the key to success. So, you know, on the longer term, obviously there will be more experience, more player to player skill difference, and more game knowledge. I think that will come in, that will make those slight incremental differences as we go forward. But for this part so far, it's working very well for them. Juvenile is saying, unironically, Badam is the best EU top right now. He improved a lot. Last year he was a meme. So I've seen this argument of Adam being set as the best top laner in EU. I personally am gonna say no for 2 reasons. The first one is that he's being let on his pocket picks with Olaf and Darius, and it just so happens that in a meta where Cassante is one of the most prioritized picks. I mean, you look at Team Heretics, 6 out of 6 games they've managed to get Cassante, right? It happens that Olaf and Darius play super well into Cassante. That's one element. The second element I'm going to say is Photon, I believe, is much more versatile and mechanically stronger than Adam. Now that doesn't mean Adam is bad. I'm not dissing him whatsoever. There's definitely some improvements compared to last year. I'll agree on that. But I wouldn't set him as the best one. I think Photon. Like if well, we'll see obviously this weekend when they eventually face each other. But I think Photon will have Adam's number on the Vitality BDS game. That's my take. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe when we talk about it next week, I'll be like, well, I'm a fool. BDS won and Adam held his lane against Photon. So we'll see. Moving very quickly onto our flop of the week. The first obvious one is going to be Excel. Excel going into another, no, not another, so into their first 0-3 week, losing to Astralis of all teams. So right now, I don't think anyone, and I don't care who you are, would have predicted Excel at the bottom. Even less losing to a team like Astralis. They are the most disjointed team, and that's talking because Fnatic exists right now, right? But it feels like the only person who's doing well is Odoamne, who's holding his lane, doing rather well overall. But the rest of the team, like even Patrick, man, I'm so disappointed. I had such high expectations for Patrick, especially being paired with Targamas. Two very smart players, two very versatile players, and they're just not living to the hype so far. And it's hard to know exactly what they need to work on. It doesn't feel like there's a lane that stands out where you say, oh, you can put a carry on them and they're gonna take away the game. And I think that might be their issue right now, is that they don't have necessarily that lane where you feel it's gonna be dominant and where they can put their resources in. So maybe it's VTO who dominates in terms of CS and lane pressure, and so they can come in mid, really help him snowball, put the Herald, or maybe it's Patrick and Targamas. I'm not necessarily going to mention Odoamne because he's usually able to get his advantages on his own, or at least stay even overall. Like if you watch the games and his his CS numbers and everything, usually like Odoamne is the saving grace for this team. But Excel very much in trouble. I believe their percentage of success going into the next group is around 30% or something. So I think it will be a massive disappointment all around if Excel doesn't make it into that top 8, right? Especially like looking into their schedule this week, they don't necessarily have the easiest one. They're going against Team Heretics, which I think Team Heretics can definitely win against Excel. I think they have their shit a bit more together compared to Excel. They're going against SK, who's had an amazing 3-0 week. And then they're ending with Vitality. Unless something happens between last week and this weekend, I don't think Excel is going to be able to go through. They're going against such massive opposition. It's not looking good for these guys. You'll maybe be surprised that I put G2 as the other flop team, but they did go 1-2. 1-2 this week, right? Obviously losing against SK and Vitality, which I'm gonna be repeating myself. I'm sorry, but they were definitely the most dominant team in the first week, the most dominant 3-0 team. They're still able to destroy Team Heretics within 18 minutes, but it feels that they're very reliant on getting hyper scaling strong picks for like Hans Sama, for instance, right? So once he gets his Draven, for instance, and the enemy team eventually makes a mistake because I don't know they get greedy whatsoever, and Sama is just untouchable. He's very good on his pocket pit Draven, obviously, and it becomes impossible for the enemy team to do anything from that point on forward. So, I mean, there's not much to say about G2. They're still a very strong team, right? They can both lose 2 games against, obviously what felt like weaker teams going into the second week, and then having record breaking game the next day. So I think obviously they won't have a problem going into the next stage. It might go 3-0 again. If I'm a G2 fan, I'm chilling. I'm really chilling. Even if it's a 1-2 and I lost against SK, I'm chilling. The team looks amazing so far, and when it's gonna come into the best of threes, I think they're gonna smash it as well. Yike is fitting super well into the team. They probably have the rookie of the split within them, so that's good for them. Excel CEO is willing to join TSM Reggie at LA Psych. I mean, what's funny is that TSM is doing better though than Excel, despite their very peculiar, I would say, roster. I don't know if any of you guys actually watch NALCS, but they went 2-0 in their first week. They did lose yesterday, but it was still somewhat of a close game. But yeah, I don't think anyone expected TSM to have that much of a strong start. But I don't know, maybe they go to 2 this week. But we're not here to talk about LCS. We're here to talk about LEC. Obviously, the other flop of the week is, unfortunately, our boys in orange and black, Fnatic. And you know what? Instead of talking about it in this segment, how about we just move forward and talk about Fnatic here. 2-4 week. Where do I start? There's just so many problems with the team right now. The first one that comes to mind is Wunder. Wunder has been getting solo bowled a couple of times now, and that has been a massive issue. And even if you say, yeah, well, he's taking losing matchups whatsoever, I still have an issue. Even if you're losing, lose gracefully, but don't give away one-on-one kills. It's such a pain. And then on the other side, he's able to pull out the Gwen performance, even though it didn't win. He had such a great laning phase and map pressure where he's taking turrets, getting us, team gold, but it wasn't enough. Razork, I am really annoyed with Razork. Like, as much as he's very, very cute, very funny, I don't know what's going on in his mind. He is sending it way too much. Like, especially the games where we had advantages, both last week and this week. Like against Team Heretics, where he just dashes into Jack Spectra around the bot river and doesn't wait for Wunder to catch up for the TP. I don't know, like, I'm gonna see if I can show you guys a few things. I'm sorry there's no sign, but like, there's those great moments against BDS. The shuffle into the alley-oop from Wunder. So that was a great moment. Brought us back into the game. We were looking good. Even if BDS has 2 turrets, we're getting some offensive in. We're still able to fight back. This moments against Team Heretics in the early game. Great realm warp from Humanoid, and they get a double kill for their efforts. Perfect way to snowball. get humanoid on the board, give some plate gold to the team. Same here. That one was a bit more of a scrappy team fight, but it was well found. Razor goes a bit too deep, gets separated, as you can see, by the shuffle here. Good positioning by Reckless on the side, who managed to get a good chain of corruption. Obviously, is playing Lethality Virus, so relies a lot on his abilities, but he's still able to get stuff done here. As this fight goes on, we're able to get something else. This time, Razor goes not too deep, manages to get the shot onto Ruby. Amazing. We get Drake, we get a couple of kills. Everything's going well. And then this happens. Razork goes into friggin' Narnia. Look at Reckless, completely isolated, can't play front to back. Gets raided by 3 people at the same time. Jack Spectra, very good mechanically, but has Zeri for a lot of mobility. And at this stage, well, oh, look at all this shutdown gold being delivered for free. And now it's only a 3k gold difference. Reckless playing a lot of support games on solo queue. What's going on? That's nothing. Reckless has always been known to play a lot of support games. I know the way he explained it last time was to say that it's easier for him to climb. He also, well, not easier for him to climb, but he's a bit more relaxed in support games, and it also helps him understand the role a bit more. It could be also a way for him to sort of decompress after the rough few weeks. I know what's being said that upset Reckless in the bot lane. No, this is mental talk. Okay, I'm gonna say it here to anyone who wants to hear it. This is not happening. Okay. Reckless is not going to swap into support, and where do we put Rux, right? Gonna say it here right now. Even if we don't go into the next stage for winter, so let's say we don't make top 8 this split, right? Because of the new format of the LEC, and the fact there's only one trophy at the end, in a sense, it doesn't really matter if we don't win the first split. It's frustrating, I know. I'm the first one annoyed about our performances, right? But I don't think this will bring any changes into the team. I think with the current format, organizations have more space and more time to build their roster. Now, if there's really a massive issue and it's just not working, then maybe there are changes. But speaking for Fnatic, in my opinion, I don't think we will be seeing any changes from them this season. Even if everyone wants to go for Reckless's head, Razork's head, Rux's head, whomever, keep your pitchforks for end of 2023 when we go into the off season. This is the best way to actually have changes within the team. No changes even if they don't make top 8? No, I don't think so. I don't think so because there isn't as much impact of not making top 8. In not making into the next stage right now as it were with the previous formats, right? Like the only benefit you get to win a split is to get your ticket to the finals, right? To have that spot to the finals. And obviously there's MSI, but let's take one thing at a time. Let's with the current results and the current performances, I don't think international is in the mind of the staff or the players. So technically you have 3 chances of making it directly to the finals, and then it's all about championship points, right? So there are many ways to get there. if the staff, the organization feels that with the current iteration of players that we have on the roster, we're not going to achieve anything, I'm gonna, trust them and say, they're doing the choices that they think are right, and we'll see what happens. So listen, right now we're still in top 8. Technically we're moving forward. We have like a 66% I think to make it next, but our form is very poor. In my opinion right now, Humanoid is the only one that's actually playing well, which is very funny because so in the early to mid game, and then when the game completely explodes and we're just losing everywhere, he goes a bit overboard and he's making int plays. But from that point on forward, I believe, like in my opinion, plays super well. Usually has CS advantage. As I showed here, he made some good roams with the realm warp. I mean, he's been. I think he's one of our best players so far. My main issue has been, again, Wunder, has been Razork. He's been. I don't necessarily have. I think I'm a bit divided on Reckless, right? Reckless plays well, but he still plays too safe, right? So he's playing in that environment where he knows he's gonna have the most success, and he's not taking enough risks, in my opinion, to really give us the advantage. And that's kind of what happens with Team Heretics, right? Is that he is playing the poke strat, but there's some moments where he needs to be a bit more aggressive. Where it doesn't matter if he goes in, he goes in with the team, and I feel like there's still a bit of this separation between our top side and our bot lane. Rux, my only gripe with Rux is I feel like he's missing a lot of skill shots, like on the Ashe and on the Nautilus. So many arrows and hooks that have just gone wide. Now, obviously, some of them have been dodged, but some of them are like, I don't know, are going to Narnia every time. Regular split Humanoid outperforms VTO. I mean, VTO, everyone's outperforming VTO so far, so I don't know if that's much of a comparison, but what my main issue with the team is that, again, I feel we draft very, very well, but we're just unable to execute it. My issue that I have with the draft with BDS is that the draft we had in itself wasn't really bad because we have an Ezreal Ashe bot lane, which is supposed to poke a lot, but we're not at that level yet where we're able to perform these drafts properly. And I feel we need to play some, I don't know, more accessible drafts for our players instead of doing these drafts that are kind of 200 IQ but require a certain team level, for them to be executed properly. And it's an absolute shame, right? Because it's like the staff is producing the finest caviar and we're giving it to pigs, really. Like, I don't want to insult players, call them pigs, but it's just a metaphor, right? It's that we're giving them to people who are not appreciating those drafts and you're not able to perform them. Like the win against Excel, right? Well, it started very poorly. The only reason why we win is because our draft is insane. And both our wins, right? Like, technically, right, if you watch all the games, we should be 0-6, right? Because the only game that we win is enemy teams throwing every time, right? So both games where we had a lead against Vitality and Team Heretics, we were unable to close them. BDS G2 game, we get slammed. Okay, had enough watching Wunder getting solo killed by everyone. Exactly what happened in BDS, right? The Excel and Koi game. Excel and Koi were ahead, and we managed to bring it back because we have the better draft. So right now, the two things we have going for us is humanoid and good drafts. And when you know that draft was an issue last season, and we've managed to fix that somewhat, but now the players are not able to execute them. It's like one problem's resolved, and then it's just a back and forth like this. It makes me mad. And you know, another thing I would say is that we need to start drafting more aggressive bot lanes. Like, we need a lane that's good early, and I want to start seeing Reckless on some Caitlyn's. I want to see some Lucian Namis. I want to see something where we're in the face of the opponent and stop just taking a backseat and CSing, man. Like, that's exactly what I was saying when I was doing the episode on the preseason. Is that while there are a lot of questions around Reckless, the one thing that I don't want to see him doing is falling back to his old habits that he had with Fnatic, which was, well, I'm not going to play too much of a dominant lane. I'm just going to farm, maybe lose a few plates, but stay alive, and then coming later to the game. I want him from the start, man. I want him to start kicking ass from the laning phase. And I think that's what we're missing, And I don't know if it's a confidence issue or if it's a synergy issue or whatever, but I think he needs to start playing more aggressive, Right now he's playing well, which is here. I need him here, right? Because Humanoid cannot 1v9 every game. Like, even Wunder, when he was ahead against Team Heretics, we were fucked. Like, one player on our team makes a bad move, and then there's no one who's able to cover. So it's an issue. It really is an issue right now. And I'll be very honest, I don't think going into week 3 we'll have solved enough. My expectations going into week 3 is just the same. We're gonna show the same level, which is very uncoordinated, poor early game, looking to scale, somewhat good control over the Drakes and Herald over the neutral objectives. But apart from that, if we have to rely on the enemy team to throw their game to win, like, what does it say about us? The 2 games where we had a lead against Vitality, Team Heretics, we were unable to close. We decided to send it for no reason at all when we had such massive gold advantages. Like, Wunder was 2 to 3k gold ahead on Evi. This game was done. Like, even when Team Heretics got the first Baron, we destroyed 4 of their players. Like, they had no place winning this game. But the execution and the decision for team fights was abysmal. So what I think is maybe the easiest thing to fix is just put a break on Razork. It's like, dude, stop being so aggressive for no reason. Because the losses we've been getting, now I'm not fully blaming it on him, but he has been the one who's done actions that have led to us giving gold away to the opponent and letting them back into the game, right? And yeah, I don't know. I need more. If we're gonna draft weak lanes top and bot, then I just want to see more focus on Humanoid. I just put all the resources on him. Because if he has to 1v9, well, might as well give him the 3k gold advantage, Like, even when he was playing the Kassadin, Like he was doing super well on a very slow scaling champion, right? He has to go into level 16. And that's what happened. Is like TikTok level 16, and he was just warping on people and absolutely obliterating them. And we managed to win the game that way. And he went absolutely bonkers. Especially like if you watch the last team fight, it's a shame I didn't take the replay from their last team fight. But if you watch him in the last team fight, his positioning is so good. And the way he re-aggresses onto Patrick under the tier 1 turret into the mid lane, where he goes in, brings him super low, Zhonya's to not die, and Razor comes in to finish the kill. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So, yeah, I feel like we're waiting too much on the opponent, you know. And in my opinion, one of the reasons why we're doing so well against Team Heretics, because again we had a very scaling comp. Like Team Heretics didn't do anything to pressure us in the mid lane. Like we were just handshaking. We're like, yep, we'll meet at 15, 16 minutes into the mid lane, and that's it. And it took the realm warp from humanoid and then the double kill top lane to really start gaining more and more advantages and putting most of the goal onto Wunder. But that was it. Team Heretics didn't do anything to push us. So we're like, well, we're farming. We're scaling. We're going into that late game. We're fine. You know, Gwen's gonna scale into Monstrosity, Rise as well. And then, you know, Varus is gonna start building his lethality items. So he's just gonna deal insane damage again. That's the thing, right? I think we need to be a bit more bold. We need that aggression. We need that aggression. We need to stop waiting for stuff to happen. And you know, even if we, you know, the bad bot lane dive that happened against Excel, at least we tried something, you know. And I'd rather see that, you know, even like a botched dive, but at least see we're trying something. We're trying to actually snowball, gain some advantages early, and not just wait like, oh, what's that? 20 minutes? Have we scaled enough, everyone? Do you have 2 to 3 items? Yeah, okay. We can team fight now. That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough. That's my main issue right now with the team. So I don't know if we'll see change into next week again. I'm not really hopeful, but who knows? I've been proven wrong in these first 2 weeks, so I want to see more from the team, especially if we have the ambition of going into the next stage. That was a very ranty, rambly section from me, but I hope you guys get the point overall. I'm just gonna move forward and get into the predictions already. Most of the predictions are the same. You guys are a bit more hopeful than I am in terms of Fnatic winning. For me, Mad Lions is in such a better form than Fnatic that I don't see us really winning this week against them. Otherwise, everything looks rather evident, I would say, in terms of games. G2 BDS could be a very interesting game, considering BDS's recent form. So, you know, I voted G2, which would be the most obvious one. But who knows? Maybe BDS might grab a win against G2. Who knows? D2, same predictions again. I'm gonna pray to the gods that we don't lose against Astralis. I don't know why I have a very bad feeling that we're gonna lose against Astralis. Please, like, if we're gonna lose all the other games, we need to win at least against Astralis. You know. Apart from that, BDS Vitality, I think will be the other game that's very interesting to watch. Final day, again, roughly same predictions. You guys have gone for a 3-0 week for Fnatic, which, you know, I recognize your copium onto that one, but again, if we're talking recent form, SK looking much more solid as a team than Fnatic. So yeah, the good part is that I guess our direct competitors, which are Astralis and Excel, also have a very complicated schedule. So there's maybe more opportunities for us. G2 is slightly overhyped. Is a 18-minute game overhyped, dude? I don't know. I mean, again, I did mention that the hard snowballing Draven definitely helped them, but I'm I don't think they're overhyped. I think they're hyped correctly, which is being a top team. Obviously, Vitality looking a bit better as of recent, but no, I don't think they're that overhyped. I don't know why, but I have the same feeling. Lose to Astralis, but win against Mad. Um, I'm not too sure about this, buddy. Um, yeah, no. I'll I don't see it personally. Um, I'm gonna stay on my choice. I'm just saying it could happen that we lose against Astralis, but if we lose against Astralis, it's a 0-3 week, and we're in even bigger trouble than ever. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But we'll see. If we win against Mad Lions, I'll be very hopeful going forward. But every game feels very different when Fnatic plays. So I can never project myself on how well we're gonna play from one week to another. I mean, I predicted 3-0 last week, and look where it took us, right? So, but anyways, guys, whoa, what's going on here? Okay, my camera has completely gone to the wazoo. So you have oh my god, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to manage this. You're having a big. Oh, why isn't it letting me? Oh, yes, because it's locked. Okay. There we go. Oh, I'm just gonna reframe myself very quickly here. This is the most professional podcast you'll ever see in your entire life. There we go. Whoop, there we go. Like nothing happened, right? Like nothing happened. But anyways, guys, thank you again for tuning in and joining me on to today's episode of the podcast. As usual, if you want to follow everything that's happening during the games or know where I'm going live next, all the socials are right here. Personal account Matt Scott, IFB podcast for the podcast. VODs are available on YouTube and Spotify as usual. They get posted during the weekend roughly, so keep an eye out. If you subscribe or listen to it, you'll get a little notification from the account. But guys, final week for Fnatic. Get your copium, get your Prage out, and hopefully we make it into the top 8 and we move forward. Have a good night. Enjoy the games this weekend, and as usual, always Fnatic. Bye bye, guys.